Hi everyone, welcome back to today's video. So, have you ever noticed that some website has shown a padlock next to the URL and while others say that not secure? And that's the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. And in this today's video, we are going to explore what are those terms really mean, why HTTPS is no longer optional, and how the technology like TLS and HTTS help protect your online activity. So whether you are a developer or a tech enthusiast or just someone who care about the privacy and security, this guide will help you to everything you need to know. And let's dive in. So let's start with what is HTTP. So HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is the foundation of the communication for the web. So it will help. The main HTTP means that it will help us to transfer the data. It means like it's a communication protocol, so that used for the web. So data is transferred in a plain text, like it's unencrypted form. Like what are the things we have been sharing can be seen by a middleman and vulnerable to the eavesdrops and MIMT. So it is like a middleman attack. So used for non-necessities like a blog and news. So that's the main points of the HTTP. So HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is using we are using while transferring the communication using the communication for the web. And it, as the mention, it's transfer a plain text and it's like people can be able to see, and it's a vulnerable because as we said it is a plain text transferring. So we are using not for any secure formats like a banking or email. We are just using for the blog and news. For example, you can see here a client is giving a request to the server and the response server is giving the response, and that's how the connection has been made. So we can see what is the handshake of this, that is HTTP handshake. As I mentioned, it's a insecure. So client has been sending a TCP sync message and server is accepting that and sending the TCP sync with acknowledgement, and then they has been starting the sharing the content. And also HTTP requests a plain text, as I said, and HTTP a response the reply to the plain text. So transfer data transmit in the plain text, as I said. So HTTP transfer has been happened, and now we can see what is HTTPS. So as I mentioned, HTTP means Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and here with a secure version. That is, we are using SSL TLS encryption, which protect the data from MITM attack, which means like middleman attack, which means it is keeping our communication between the web browsers in a secure way. Encrypt the communication between the client and the server, so which is essential for a site to handle sensitive information. So here the communication is, the handshake is different. So let's see how it is. So firstly, the TCP has sent in the sync message and the server is sending the sync acknowledgement and the TCP acknowledgement. So as basically the TCP, what are the three handshake we have been mentioned, as the same process is happening here. That is TCP communication, which is the three-way handshake as we mentioned. Now to make this more secure, we are using a client hello, which means like a SSL or TLS certificate, which makes sure that we are sending to a proper or secure website. For that, after TCP, a client will send to hello. So the server replied like hello with their certificate, which proves that they are secure. And after verifying, the client will verify that the certificate has been mentioned is very secure and it is not expired, it is a true. Then they will start to exchange the key. So key, which means like for example, if we are keeping a secret in a box and we have been putting the key, so which means that we are sharing a secret in a safe way. Only the person with the key can open it. So as that like that, here it is also happening. That's a key exchange. So client will exchange the key and the server also the lock can only open the key because it is using the server's public key to open. The private key can be only open. So the server has been finished and the client has been finished. So it is using the symmetric encryption keys generator. So all the further communication has been encrypted here. And at last encrypt HTTP request and encrypt the HTTP response, so that the data has been sent and received in a secure way. So there is no MITM attack. So that's how the HTTPS has been working. So that's why I have mentioned in the intro, this technology we can't able to, there is no other option to make our secure. So this is the main thing we are using to secure our website. Now we can see what are the technical difference between HTTP versus HTTPS. As I mentioned, it is using the port 80, which means HTTP the port is 18, and for the HTTPS, which is called 443. And encryption, in HTTP there is no encryption, in HTTPS there is. And the certificate, as I mentioned, three-way handshake, there is no HTTP sharing the certificate. In HTTPS, the thin SSL and TLS certificate has been sharing. And data integrity, also no in HTTP, but there is in the HTTPS. And SEO ranking, which is neutral, but is in the HTTPS it is boosted. So these are the some main technical difference between those things. That is, hypertext transfer protocol with a secure version and using the port number, which is using the default port, but is using here is a 443 boy port. Here is 80 and it is 443, and it is operated by TCP IP level, but here it is operated by a TLS and SSL connection. And HTTP website do not need SSL, but it needs SSL certificate. So that's how we can verify that the HTTP website didn't use any as an encryption version. Now we can see the complete handshake process, as I said in the in this before slide, that this is HTTP insecure version, that is three-way handshaking, and they have been sent the data in a plain text. But here we can see after the TCP there is happening the SSL TLS certificate exchange. Then we can see the HTTP request and encrypted version and the response also. So this is how this handshake is happening. Now we can see what are the importance of HTTPS. So we can use this in the encrypted sensitive data like a password and cards, and we can build trust with the padlock symbol. So in this site we can see here in the above there is a padlock. You can see in the YouTube, you can see that, which means like this is a build a trust in this form. And mandatory for the PCI complaints in the e-commerce, and it prevents the man-in-the-middle attack and section hijacking, and enable the secure authentication. So HTTP plus SSL certificate, which make HTTPS, which is a secure protocol we use for the communication. Now we can see what is HSTS. So which means like hyper HTTP, strict transport security. So it is like in this picture. So they will scan, they will force to secure the things that has been protected. Transport security has been, they will strictly look. So the security head is forcing the HTTPS connection and blocking the SSL stripping and downgrading attack. So instruct a browser to reject the HTTP entirely. So this is how the HSTS work. So as I mentioned in the before, how HTTP work entirely, that is client initiate HTTP request and server send SSL certificate, then TLS handshake, that is key exchange has been happening here, and the section keys generator. So they have been encrypted the data and transfer being securely. And we can see the benefit of HTTPS over the HTTP. So we, as we mentioned, the main thing is like data encryption, authentication with certificate, data integrity, SEO boost, that is Google ranking higher, and improve the user trust and access to the modern browser features. So what are the misconceptions we have here? So HTTPS is 100% safe, and there is also some hackers. So it is false. And only traffic is encrypted, not the site or the server. No sensitive data means no HTTPS. And even logging search box need HTTPS. So these are the misconceptions we have been hearing a lot. So that's why I have been put it here. And at last, we can see some best practice for the HTTPS. Always redirect HTTP to HTTPS. Use the certified authentication certification. Enable HSTS for long maximum age, and monitor the renew certificate, and test with SSL lab and securityheaders.com. So at last, this is the end of the video. So HTTPS is essential for the web security, which protect users and build the credibility. and required by search engine and browsers, and adopt HTTPS, HTTPS for all the sites. So that's the end of today's video. Now you understood why HTTPS is so important. Not just for protecting data, but for building trust, improving the SOC, and staying compliant with modern web standards. If you're on a website, and make sure that you are using HTTPS, rewrite all the HTTP traffic and enable the HTTPS for extra protection. If you found this video very helpful, like, subscribe and share it with the other who need to understand the web security. Have any question or want a full guide of this? Drop a comment below. And thanks for watching, and remember, secure your web because before it gets rigged. Thank you.